Today I'm going to show you some mind-blowing information about atomic bombs, how they're made, and it's just insane how interesting this information is. I came across it because I'm studying physics dynamics and collision of particles and all the formulas involved in them. And as I was talking with my tutor, I said, collision of particles, isn't that like in the movie Iron Man when he collides atoms and they form a new element? And he's like, yeah, it's kind of like that. So we went off on a 1 hour tangent talking about hydrogen atoms, atomic bombs, and I want to pass on this knowledge to you because it's just truly mind-blowing. So there are two kinds of atomic bombs. The first one, we have uranium-235, which is an element, a very heavy and large element. Think of uranium-235 as a big basketball. Uranium-235, where do we get it from? It's mined from the soil, and then it's processed and converted into an isotope, which is an unstable element, uranium-235. What happens with uranium-235, we then slash it in half, I'm simplifying everything, and we end up with two very radioactive molecules. Think of it as slashing a basketball in half, and then we end up with two baseballs. Now these baseballs are very radioactive, and all the surrounding basketballs around the baseballs are going to start cutting themselves into half too. It's a chain reaction, and that creates the explosion. One important thing to note is that how these atomic bombs are transported, the shell of the container of the atomic bomb is designed so it provides radiation to the molecules of uranium-235 so that they're stable enough to not explode when they're being transported. Here we have an example, other than Hiroshima, of course. This in 1986 in the Ukraine, they had a power plant that exploded. They couldn't get the chain reaction under control. And as a result, they ended up putting a lead dome to contain some of that radiation. But one thing I wanted to point out is that in my life, I've experienced true malevolence lately. I want to exclude the details, but true malice and malevolence exists in the world. And it's very important for us to become informed of the things that we don't know. Knowledge is the ultimate form of power and currency. So an example of malevolence that happened here is that the owners of the plant, they knew that this was radioactive, and they still let the employees go back to work and continue their activities. And I just really think being passing the information to others is the best way to protect yourselves and the ultimate currency. So now we go on to the second type of atomic bomb, which is the hydrogen bomb. Many of you have heard of this already. Think of it, rather than using basketballs, we're going to use ping pong balls on this one. Very small hydrogen atoms, and we're going to collide them at high velocities, as you can see here on my screen, and it's going to form a new element, helium, when they're combined. And this is where it all ties back to physics dynamics. In physics dynamics, we're studying the collision of particles, and we understand that when two particles collide, energy is transmitted to the environment, and by the form of energy, by the form of heat and light. And that's what's happening in the sun. The sun, which provides light and heat, it's a conglomeration of hydrogen atoms. There's almost an infinite amount of them, and they're all inside. This is the sun here that I'm making. This ball is the sun, and we have all these hydrogen atoms. Think of it as ping pong balls, and they need to collide in order to have the heat and energy. So ask yourself, what makes them collide? And this is the part that starts getting mind-blowing. What makes them collide is the gravitational pull of the sun pulling them towards the nucleus. So there's a little la-la-da floating around hydrogen atom. It gets pulled towards the center, the nucleus. It gets pulled toward the center, and helium is born. Now helium gets projected outside the sun, and camera moved here, but I'm going to keep it going. Outside the sun, and it gets pulled back into the sun by gravitational force, and you'll find the helium all on the outside of the sun, kind of like the outside of a tangerine, the cover of a tangerine, like that. And the helium will still be in the sun, and constantly these collisions are happening over and over again. How do we know that the sun is composed of hydrogen? That's because we had a scientist look at it through the microscope, And the way that hydrogen reflects light is very particular. And that's how we were able to find that the sun is composed of hydrogen. Here we have some more information about the sizes of the different bombs that we have detonated. Here's the Tsar Bomba, and that was a hydrogen bomb. And little tiny one over here is Hiroshima. So hydrogen bomb here, uranium-235 over here. If you found this information mind-blowing, consider giving me a follow. I'm a learner for life. I do mechanical engineering content, but anything that sparks my interest, I'm going to make videos about. Make sure to subscribe and share with a friend. Rafael Testai, until next time.